I never did anything to harm my daughter or my granddaughter.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still.
Oh, man.
Casey Anthony's Parents, the lie detector test. Watch now, only on A&E. And watch next day on the A&E app.
The friendship is sharing deal. Because I want one of your McNuggets.
And I need some of your Quarter Pounder.
There's a deal for everyone at McDonald's. Get one favorite like 10-piece chicken McNuggets, a Quarter Pounder, or a Big Mac, and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
Say goodbye to expensive TV bills. Philo is the simple, powerful app for watching TV. You get access to more than 35 of your favorite entertainment channels, as well as live TV on demand and unlimited recording, all for only $16 a month. No contract needed. And there's never been a better deal. Start your free trial instantly with just a phone number. No credit card needed. Visit go.philo.com/crime. That's go.philo.com/crime or text the word crime to 74456.
Are you looking for a suspenseful new book to read this summer? USA Today bestselling author Danielle Stewart is offering our listeners a free copy of Chasing Justice. With over 800 five-star reviews, Chasing Justice is a can't-put-down crowd pleaser. It's a fast-paced, thrilling story of a woman who is hell-bent on settling old scores, even if it kills her. Download Chasing Justice for free at any major ebook retailer, or check out Danielle Stewart's website at authordaniellestewart.com. That's author Danielle, DanielleStewart.com. I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On, the podcast about other podcasts and also about true crime, pop culture, journalism. And this week, we'll look at the very hot BBC America series, Killing Eve. Also, the Laura Richter scale will be off the charts, talking about this week's episode of In the Dark. Joining me to get into that and a whole lot more is my true crime co-author, real-life husband, and true life partner in crime, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, baby doll.
If you're not wearing like a giant tutu skirt when you say that, it doesn't count.
And combat boots?
That's right. Does not count. Also with us is journalist, true crime author, licensed private investigator, former defense investigator, and our favorite certified cat lady, Laura Bricker. Hello, Laura.
Good evening, Rebecca.
And finally, the novelist behind the City trilogy and the Balls Deep Dive book club host, Toby Ball. Hello, Toby.
What's up, girl?
What's up? Oh, so many things. So many things. All right. Well, a quick note. Next week on the program, we will be talking about The Staircase. Can I get a applause for The Staircase?
I have, yes, because we had an owl situation in my town this week. I am ready.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Toby, by the way, the Audubon Society agrees with the owl theory. I hope you saw that on the Twitter.
The entire world agrees with the owl theory except for me.
Science agrees.
Okay, Toby.
People are trying to trigger me on Twitter. It's not going to work.
Okay, you haven't seen it yet, but are you willing to be open-minded about what may be presented about the owl theory?
I don't think the owl theory is in the new episodes, though.
Oh, I
thought it was.
I think it is.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
That's what it's going to be? Oh, God.
I think it's all about... Well, I don't know. We'll just. But I mean, if all of a sudden there's a lot of discussion,
who done it?
Oh, Jesus H. Christ!
Listen, I may not be. I may be on vacation next week.
Oh, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
I will maintain that for me, anyway, The Staircase, and I've said this many times in the last couple weeks, is the Citizen Kane of true crime.
Okay.
It is the Mac Daddy, big dog series that gives a look inside of a murder case in a way that nothing I've ever seen before or since does. So whether or not you think it's stupid that I think an owl potentially murdered Kathleen Peterson, or whether or not you think that Michael Peterson definitely did it, if you haven't seen the series yet, Netflix is dropping all the old original episodes, plus the interstitial episodes, plus 3 brand new episodes today, the day this podcast is coming out, they will be available. Run, don't walk to your Netflix and watch The Staircase.
What am I doing here?
Just as a point of information.
Yes.
Can owls really murder people?
It'd have to be premeditated, and I think they're just going on their natural.
It would be
instinct.
owl slaughter.
Yeah, I think those are
Yeah, all right.
I think those are sort of crimes of passion.
It could be considered foul play.
Oh my god. See, this is why I'm going on vacation.
Those are some lofty terms you're throwing around, Kevin.
Just be careful where you go, Toby. There's no owls.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about that next time.
We will talk about that
indoors.
next time. Absolutely. All right. Now, Kevin, you have big plans for this weekend. Quick reminder. Where are you going this weekend?
I'm off to Toronto for the first Toronto True Crime Film Festival. Festival, not festival. And you notice I didn't say first annual.
Right.
Because you can't have a first annual.
There's no such thing as that.
You can have
Right.
a first, you can have an annual.
Right.
But you can't have a first annual.
That's right.
You got to go to this Japanese steakhouse place that I went to when I was in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, what's it called? The Toronto Japanese Steakhouse?
I'll send it. I'll send it to you.
Toronto
send it to you.
Japanese Steakhouse.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
Toronto
send it to
Japanese steak. It's all on little skewers and stuff. It's awesome.
It's called the
All right,
Love
sorry,
It
go
or
ahead.
List It Japanese Steakhouse.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, what will people expect to see of you if they are willing to venture out and see you in Toronto this weekend? You'll be on some panel, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be on a panel. We're going to be discussing the rise of the armchair detective.
Oh, our favorite, not so favorite kinds of detectives.
Yeah, exactly. What makes them so compelling or dangerous? Why are they so hot right now? And that's just that's one of the symposiums that are happening around all the different films.
Yeah.
This is Friday and Saturday of this weekend. It's going to be at the Royal, which is the movie theater. I think it's on College Street in Toronto.
Look at you being a Torontoian.
And the Monarch Tavern, which is right next door, is holding some of these talks. So you can still get your tickets or your all access passes. The place to go is TorontoTrueCrimeFilmFestival.com, and you can see everything that's going to be there. So I'll be there on Saturday afternoon.
Don't forget your passport.
I will not forget my passport.
Very exciting.
And some of the films that are going to be showing are this one called Abducted in Plain Sight. And this is the one where it's about a guy kidnaps his neighbor.
Like 3 times or something?
Yeah, and like kidnaps her again.
Yeah.
And there's The Stranger, Hostages, and there's the 25th anniversary of Monster with
Charlize Theron. And her Academy Award-winning performance.
Yeah, so a lot of good things to
as
watch.
Eileen Wuornos.
And some good talk. So I hope that all of our Buffalo, Detroit, Toronto adjacent listeners maybe make some time, come say hi.
You know what's next to Toronto? Mississauga.
Mississauga, yes. When I looked at the map, I said, that's Mississauga.
That's right.
There's no U at the end. It's just an A.
That's right. No Mississauga. It's Mississauga.
Mississauga.
Toby got in trouble for mispronouncing that like a couple months ago.
I know.
It's where the band Triumph is from.
I think it's Triumph, actually.
Triumph.
Band de Triomphe.
Well, another note, we want to give a huge shout out to apparently Crime Writers On's ultimate superfan, Bobby Desmond. He created from scratch a Wikipedia page about our podcast that is unbelievable.
I know. First of all, it means we're going to live forever.
Does
because
it?
we have a Wikipedia page.
It does.
Yeah.
Toby and Laura, you both have a Wikipedia page. Were there any details that jumped out to you as being like particularly surprising that like this fan, Bobby Desmond, put on the page?
The fact that you can footnote anything about us is a little frightening.
Yeah.
Laura?
Well, I was going to say, I was amazed it was incredibly detailed. I mean, they had a live event at the Hatbox Theater, and then they had another live event at the Word Barn. And I was very happy that he threw in about how I was using my power to spread awareness about the lilies and the cats. That was nice.
Yep.
But just the level of detail, I was like, wow. We sound super official.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
And how long did it take him to do this? My God. Yeah. It was amazing.
There is a listing of every episode that we've done.
That's right.
And what the topics were.
Right.
And who the guests were if we had guests.
Right.
And it's pretty, it's like your high school yearbook when you start looking back and you're like, oh my God, guys, do you remember November 10th, 2017?
Nope.
We did Stranger Things 2. And then we had, we talked about Maura Murray again.
Oh, God. We did?
Yeah. It was like that time on
She
December
died in
3rd,
the woods,
2016. She died in the woods.
Can we just do it?
Eaten by an
Connie
owl.
Walker.
Wait, could we just do like a quick,
Yeah.
this is something I've always wanted to do. Let's just do a quick episode of Missing Maura Murray right now. The Crime Writers On version of Missing Maura Murray. Kevin, what do you think happened to Maura Murray?
She died.
How?
She probably froze to death.
Wandered off into the woods?
Wandered off into the woods in a
That
suicidal
hypothermia?
state. Yeah.
Laura, how does that sound to you as a theory?
It sounds pretty plausible, but Bigfoot and or an owl may have been involved.
Yes.
Toby, thoughts about what happened to Maura Murray?
You know, people who are like making fun of this stuff online and in like Reddit and stuff, it's just not helpful.
It's not helpful. No.
All right. Yeah. So just, knock it off. Just be constructive like Laura.
That was right. Toby, I was constructive even though I talked about an owl.
Yeah.
Is it possible she ran away to a new life in Mississauga?
No, not possible. Also not
Yeah.
possible that the New Hampshire State Police have a vast conspiracy to keep her fate a secret. It's just not
We're going to be
possible.
doing a live show
Yeah.
in Worcester.
Yeah, we're done. Okay, that's it. That is our episode of
There you
Missing
go.
Maura Murray, Crime Writers On
Yeah.
style. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, guys. I'm sorry, and I feel very, very bad for her family that her most likely death has been turned into a farcical mystery, non-mystery situation, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
all right.
And then they totally stole Laura's idea about doing the museum heist.
They did? Oh my God.
That's
they
right.
did.
They're
It's called like
empty
frames or
Yes.
something.
Which is basically Missing Maura Murray at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
Oh, come on now.
Right.
Ugh.
We have no way of solving it. But we'll talk about it for a long time.
Did Bigfoot take the art as well?
No, Bigfoot did not take the art.
If Maura Murray is taking that art and has it squirreled away somewhere, then we'll have.
That's a story.
I pledged I would never talk about this on the show, but I did listen to the first episode of that podcast. And like personally speaking, like those guys are nice guys who make that show.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't actually personally have the same animus toward them that I have about other certain podcasters. They're nice, but they do spend like a good 15 minutes in the show talking about like having looked at the paintings and appreciated art for the first time. It's really something. All right. Anyway, speaking of other podcasts that we don't always, but sometimes do talk about on the show, I just want to drop a quick bit of tape because, I appreciate a good impression. And perhaps nobody in the podcast realm does better impressions of famous people than the Done Disappear podcast with John David Booter. But I was catching up on that podcast this week, and I listened through episodes like 5 through 7. And in episode 5, there is the most unbelievable vocal impression of a voice that I would think would be like super hard to do impersonation of. And that is Phoebe Judge from the Criminal Podcast.
Support for Miscreant comes from Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans and My Father Dennis. Bevins Maroney was born to unknown parents in Davistown, Pennsylvania, and was abandoned in the woods. She was found raised by an elderly lumberjack and his dogs until she left the woods in 1975 and became a media sensation due to her bizarre upbringing. Journalists across the globe were fascinated by Bevin's story and charmed by her brusque, candid demeanor. But these journalists were making a huge mistake. I'm Dee Dee Budge. This is Miscreant.
Kevin, what did you think of this impression of Phoebe Judge?
Oh, I think it's really great. I mean, everybody who is into true crime knows the Criminal Podcast. And it was just sort of like the pace, and there's like a little breathiness there.
The attention to detail.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like those little things that make it really good.
They do. And I want to tell people, like, if you're not on the Done Disappeared train, but if you like good impressions, that's a good reason to get on the Done Disappeared train, because there are some incredible impressions of people like Nancy Grace, and then this Phoebe Judge one just like...
It's not as good as the Bobby Tall impression, but it's good. It's good.
It's a high bar.
Nothing will ever match the Bobby Tall impression. All right. Moving on. Kevin, can you please read this for me?
The Richter Scale.
Here we go. In this week's episode of In the Dark, after somewhat nibbling around the edges of the Curtis Flowers case's racial components, the show finally goes all the way there. Madeline Barron shows us why there have been 6 trials in this case of Curtis Flowers. The first 3 were overturned because of prosecutorial misconduct by Doug Evans, where he improperly struck black citizens from sitting on juries.
Court opened for Curtis Flowers' 3rd trial in February of 2004. And Curtis's lawyer, Ray Charles Carter, watched as Doug Evans used every single strike he had, all 15 of them, against black people. Doug Evans didn't strike a single white person.
There wasn't no doubt he was trying to get rid of all the black folks. That's exactly what he was trying to do.
Ray Charles Carter and the rest of Curtis's defense team objected. They called a timeout. They filed a Batson challenge. They tried to convince the judge that Evans was intentionally discriminating against black people. But it didn't work. The judge sided with Doug Evans. And the jury ended up being made up of 11 white people and 1 black person. And that 1 black person had only made it onto the jury after Doug Evans had run out of strikes.
I tell people I felt like I was back 50 years in time. And I joked one time that I felt I was so far back that I started looking for Frederick Douglass to talk to him and ask him, what do you do in these old times? But of course, that was just a joke.
Laura, prosecutorial misconduct for Batson violations, not once but twice, but 3 straight times. I know this is not the only thing that you probably reacted strongly to in this podcast. And in fact, each week you and Toby send me notes for the things we're going to be talking about. And Toby did send me notes in the dark, and you sent me 1 note, which is, so I'm sure you know where I stand on this week's In the Dark. Just when you think it can't get worse, ... Laura, where were you on the Richter scale while listening to this week's In the Dark?
I don't even know. I went to the gym this week till I was on the elliptical because it was raining, and I was like, and so I listened to like the first half, and I was like, and the first half that I listened to, I was getting more and more angry as I was listening to this just blatant racial bias. I mean, not even bias. Bias isn't even the word. Racism. I mean, where he's like deliberately striking black jurors over and over again. I mean, it's not even a fucking secret. I mean, he's just doing this. And who cares? Nobody besides the defense team cares. Everybody's like, yeah, sure, this is fine. This is cool. It's a whole like all white jury. Oh, wait, we got 1 like token black person on this jury. Like, what the hell? But I just kept getting more and more and more angry because Madeline is so good about layering things. So the way she tells things, like, you're listening along and she drops in a little tidbit about like the judge and Doug Evans are Facebook friends. But the part that really sent me, I mean, the whole thing about these cases being overturned and then him continuing. And I think, didn't the court say this was the worst case of racial, they'd ever seen?
Worst Batson violation situation
worst.
They've ever seen. Yep.
And then he does it again. Yep. And I'm just like, but the part that really, like when I was driving home from the gym and I was still listening, this is the part, it was a good thing there was no cars around me because I was like, I was losing my mind at the poor guy that was the holdout. This 66-year-old retired teacher
Mr.
who
Gibbs.
held to his convictions. He was like this kind old man.
Listen to the
and
evidence.
Even the defense attorney was like, I thought about what if someone was doing this to one of my elderly relatives. Like when we heard this judge just berating this poor old guy and then putting him in jail, and now he's charging him. That's the part I was like, I lost my mind. I sat in my driveway and I was like, what is happening here? How are people? I'm never going to Mississippi, by the way, ever,
Yeah.
because I'm afraid if I look at someone the wrong way, I'm going to be sitting in jail for the rest of my freaking life. Like, what is happening in that state? Okay,
Kevin,
I'm done.
Have you ever heard of a juror being
Hold on, I can't hear anything because my ear is ringing.
Did I blast
Holy cow.
you? What is happening in that state?
It's bad. It's really bad. It's
yeah.
a state where the and basically a detail that blew my mind in this episode, the scene setting detail that the Emmett Till monument is right across the street, and that it had been the narrative about Emmett Till had been scraped away, and that like students who came to visit the site put up notes because it had been defaced. So, Kevin, have you ever heard of a juror being charged?
Nope.
Because a prosecutor didn't agree or a judge didn't agree with the jurors' decision?
No, I can't even think. I'm trying to think, even if there were some sort of juror misconduct, which this isn't. Yeah, I mean, the remedy is to get thrown off the jury.
Right.
And if it's post conviction, you find again some sort of egregious misconduct, maybe it's grounds for the defendant to get a new trial. But,
right.
But as far as charging
for perjury,
charging a
which
juror,
wasn't true
with perjury,
because the transcript showed that he never asked the question.
Which is even worse.
Yes.
But to say that you lied during voir dire. Is he throwing charges at everybody else who was on the stand and their testimony was impeached?
Yeah.
I could not believe it. It just certainly read as if this juror is being punished for being the holdout.
Yeah. For being, and I know this is like a charged word, but it's like this uppity juror isn't doing what we want him to do. That's what it sounded like to me. I mean, that's how it felt. And one of the moments in the episode that stuck out to me was listening to I think it was of somebody in the community talking about the case and the juries and just saying, because Madeline Barron does really great journalism in this episode. The journalism in this episode is astonishingly good because they not only do the narrative part where they tell you what happened, but they also do the statistical part and the data part. And she says, 50% of the black jurors that sat on these juries, like 70-something jurors, ultimately voted to convict. 100% of the white ones did.
Like 65 white jurors.
Yeah,
if my math is right.
So she's like, she breaks it down,
and none of them. Yeah, right.
And she talks about that, and then she talks to somebody in the community who talks about the juries.
So this was somebody on one of the juries.
Yes, and he says,
you can take an all-white jury, and a white man kills a black man. You can bring them to trial, and if the evidence is there, the white jury is going to convict that white man. They're not going to look at race. But you can bring an all-black jury in where a black man has killed a white woman or something like that. Those black people, biggest majority of them, they're going to hang the jury. It's just a difference. I want to tell you something. We had some good, and I'm not saying this because they voted guilty, but we had some good blacks on the jury. I mean, that was on there to do what was right, and regardless of the color. And it was hard for some of them to do what they did.
Some of them were, he says, good blacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just going to let that sit for a second. This is 2018. And this is like the interview that we are getting. This is not like she's going back to 1955 and pulling up tape from like some TV interview from like segregation in his times. This is like today, the good blacks, the ones who were willing to go along with the non-evidence-based conviction.
Some of that is like, we all have this thing where we think everybody else should view the facts the way we see them. And so
what facts though?
Well, if you sat on a jury, maybe not this, any jury, right?
Right.
And you saw the case and you believe that, this person is not guilty. You couldn't get like, why would anyone feel that they think that that she is guilty, or vice versa? So you start with the idea that a lot of these people are already going to assume that people who don't agree with them are wrong, and then you throw in sort of this racial layer on it, and it sort of comes. Okay, yeah, I'm soft pedaling it, but you're right. Yeah, it's
insane.
It's a bad look.
I
it totally
think it's
is.
Worse.
Yeah,
I just the legal system is about social control. It's about maintaining order and stuff, and I think in some places it's about maintaining a social order from bygone days. In this case, I think it's about propagating white supremacy in a time when you can't pass laws overtly to do it, but you do it through the legal system. And I think a lot of places, I think it's racial. I think there's a lot of places where it's also class-based, but the legal system is used as a way of controlling social relations between classes and races in some places. And I think this is definitely one of those places where it's, we're keeping things the way they were in the 30s. Blacks will know their place and, the law will enforce it.
Now, Toby, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was this tactic used by the prosecution, which we hear was a tactic. And then the jurors, they interviewed a ton of jurors for this episode. It was borne out that, we heard about all these witnesses in the case, which turned out to be, BS witnesses who were either coerced into testifying or were somehow pressured into testifying. And Madeline was able to knock all of these witnesses out. Like, we know they are all not telling the truth in these trials. But the same perception about race on juries, the same reasons that Doug Evans wanted to strike all these black jurors, for the same reasons he put black witnesses up, because of the perception that he knew existed among white jurors that blacks stick together. I'm doing the air quotes now with my fingers. So if you have a black witness testifying in the case, then they are credible, even if there is nothing to prove the foundation of their credibility. Even if they are a jailhouse informant who's a criminal and a known liar, because they're black and because they're sitting up there, they must be telling the truth because, quote unquote, blacks stick together. Toby, what did you think about that aspect of what we heard here?
It's totally not surprising. And I think it's, a microcosm of the general feeling in the United States. I don't mean that everybody in the United States feels this way, but the way a lot of stuff is put forward is that white men are the only people who are capable of being objective outside of sort of an identity, so that women will stick together and Latinos will stick together and blacks will stick together and gays will stick together. I mean, it comes up all the time, like in the Supreme Court, where it's like, you can't have Sonia Sotomayor on the Supreme Court because she's going to be she's not going to be able to fairly judge any Latino. Again, it's like there's this default that white men can look at things objectively and that everybody else kind of, I think it's even white men. I think women
I don't disagree.
Are also seen as being suspicious and that they'll sort of emotionally bond with other women and that will keep them from reasoning things through. Right. I mean, I think that's a popular perception. And, it's like, there's no way that a black person would try and screw another black person.
Toby, do you remember years ago, it's 2 years ago, we first started this podcast, and one of those crazy Reddit subreddits that are anti-Adnan Syed subreddits. Yeah. They were talking about our podcast, and the people on this subreddit, and both Toby and I were engaging on this subreddit, and they were saying horrible, racist, crazy things about Rabia and horrible, racist, crazy things. But we were only engaging because they talked about our show. And one of the theories that was put out there about us in talking about the Adnan Syed case is that Toby is a logical thinker capable of looking at facts and balancing them in the whole, and that Rebecca is incapable of looking at facts and balancing them in the whole. She lets emotions get in the way.
Mm-hmm. What's your point?
Yeah,
that women are emotional and men are rational.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it the Toby Ball scale we're talking about here?
But that was a classic, because it was on the Adnan Guilters.
Yes,
and because I was the only one who wasn't totally Adnan is innocent.
Yep.
That meant that I was smart and analytical.
That's right.
Whereas the people who were on the Adnan innocenters, there was who's that guy who does the videos, who do the videos every once in a while. And there was one he was talking about crime writers, and I was like, Toby, I don't even know where that guy's coming from. I was oh, sorry, dude.
Well, neither do we.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
3.5 years later, people are still trying to figure it out.
So, Kevin, you have a judge here who knows that Doug Evans has been not only accused, but verdicts have been overturned because of his prosecutorial misconduct.
Mm-hmm. Three times.
You have lawyers who, in a good effort for the defense, are just trying to get him to stop doing the same thing he did in previous trials. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's not let him have any more strikes because we know he's not good at this.
Yeah.
And then you have judges who are like, yeah, no, let's just let him do what he's going to do. Thoughts?
Not about the judge, but certainly about Doug Evans. I would say if the higher court, if the Supreme Court finds that you committed prosecutorial misconduct and you had to retry the case, you ought to be thinking very hard about the mistake that you made the first time and try not to do that the second time.
Or the third time.
Or the third time.
Or the fourth time.
Or the fourth time.
Yeah.
That would be like the one thing that I would be really, like, okay, fine. You say, all right, then I won't do that. And you just, I think it's just, I'm sure all the other cases that get tried, not just like the murder cases, but anytime you have a black defendant, I'm sure that is the first move, is to just start striking all of the black jurors. I don't know if the defense was starting to strike all the white jurors.
No.
But
that's not how it works.
Oh, no. Well, I'd be like, well, take that. But,
But it doesn't work that way.
No, right. And it shouldn't work that way. Not only because you're violating the defendant's rights, but as a matter of jury strategy, you should be listening to what these people actually think. Are they open to if you're in the defense, are they open to the idea that maybe this defendant isn't guilty? You really have to analyze the individuals to find out whether or not 12 people can render the verdict that you're hoping for. You can't just look at the color of their skin and say, oh yeah, okay, that's a guilty vote right
Kevin,
there.
we heard that Doug Evans lied. We heard that he lied. He said that he was striking a juror.
Shit, yeah. Oh, I know.
The guy that was sleeping,
yeah.
that was awake, and even the judge agreed on that one.
And then he was also like, he was in a gang. Oh, just kidding.
Oh,
it turns out he wasn't.
That's horrible. Yeah.
I'd like to just like sort of softly disagree with Kevin in that I think you can tell by the color of their skin because 100% of the white people voted him guilty every time.
100% of the time they did.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty compelling case to get as many white people on if you're the prosecutor and you're a racist.
Yeah. I don't disagree. The data shows that 100% of those jurors who were white in that state voted for guilt every time, despite the fact that we now know, and this is not my opinion, we know it because we have now seen and heard all of the things that the jurors saw and heard, that there was no case against this man. There was no case.
I know that those 12 and the other 12 and the next 12, that we know how they voted. I'm just not going to go the next step and say there are no good whites. That in any of those jury pools, that of the 100 people who come in, that you couldn't find 12 white people who could have an open mind and could possibly.
Yeah. I think you could. I think he's probably got a pretty good. I think he's probably got a pretty good eye for those guys too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he got the 12 that he wanted to get.
Yeah,
and he does. I
mean, you can't say that like an entire town in Mississippi, like every white person is.
That's what I'm saying.
Vote 100% of the time to convict black people for crimes they didn't do. I mean, I don't.
I'm starting to think in this town that's the case. I'm sorry.
No.
I am.
But we can't deny the facts of what happened.
We can't. Yeah. And so, Laura, are you looking forward to hearing? We heard a little preview of next week's episode. I don't know how much Doug Evans we're actually going to hear. It might just be literally Madeline Barron walking into his office and him just being like, "You need to leave."
Yeah. By the way, can I just make one last point on that?
Sure.
Okay, you could say those 12 people. Maybe you say that there's, that they're racist and there's darkness in their hearts, and that's the reason why they voted guilty. Remember, the case that they heard is the case that Doug Evans told them and embellished for them. And we already heard that. So part of the fact is that, that sounds like a really compelling case. Well, it was a lot of bullshit. That's why it was so compelling.
One of the things was overturned because he stated facts not in evidence. That's the thing that I think that they sort of, when it went by very quickly, he would just get up and say things that weren't true.
And
this boggles my mind. This just boggles my mind that they keep electing this guy. Like, what is going on?
That's the problem with the system.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
That doesn't make sense. And I also just want to make clear that the point isn't that every single one of these white people who voted to convict him is a racist, but it's a system that supports white supremacy by allowing a prosecutor to get away with sitting on white juries.
We don't need to stand up for white people, guys.
I think the nicest thing you can say is that it disadvantages black people.
It's not fair to say all 63 of these people were racist. I mean, I don't think that's...
They gave... The verdicts were racist because the evidence they were given was racist because the system in Mississippi who prosecuted this man 6 times... and where the prosecutorial misconduct was not only like allowed but excused, that system is racist. It's a racist system. And listen, we can quibble and say like, hey, maybe like 50 of those 70 people were actually nice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I think that they're going to be fine. And we don't need to stand up for those 70 white people. I just don't think we do. They're going to be fine. It's Curtis Flowers who was not fine.
No. So here's my question. I have one important question. I want to know if it's revealed next week. Is Cookie friends with Doug Evans on Facebook?
Now, Kevin, you actually did say that it's on the judge, not on Doug Evans, that they're friends on Facebook.
Rebecca,
right?
Are you Facebook friends with any defense attorneys?
I am Facebook friends with so many people that I cover, not only in our books, but also in our newsroom.
Are you Facebook friends with any judges?
And politicians, yeah.
Any cops?
Yep. Guess what? Because that's how Facebook works.
That's just how Facebook... Yeah, that doesn't mean that you're having Thanksgiving dinner with each other.
It's kind of on the judge.
Because if anybody has Facebook...
Yeah.
And you have 1,000... at this point, 1,000 Facebook friends... You know, it's kind of, everybody knows. How many bullshit. You're like, oh, yeah, I went to high school. Click. Okay, whatever.
And they run for office.
And you're
a journalist. But that's not on you.
Right.
But it is the judge,
it was on the judge. The judge should be aware of the perception of that.
The judge is responsible for unfriending all of the conflict of interest stuff, right?
Yeah. I know a judge who's a federal judge, and he says like he's leading a monastic life. He used to be very active, and he's very selective about where he is and where he goes because he just has to put up, some of these walls.
Yeah.
This case, really fires me up.
It does.
It fires me. Like when I fire up the grill for my Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks delivers...
You could probably grill one of those on Laura's forehead.
Oh, my God. We could put one of those pork chops right on your skull. Omaha Steaks deliver hand-trimmed, flash-frozen, and vacuum-sealed meats directly to your door in an Omaha Steaks cooler, and it's Father's Day, and we've got some great deals from Omaha Steaks. You ready to hear everything?
Sure.
Okay, they're so confident. They made a giant list here for me to read.
Go ahead.
Each and every one thing.
Do it.
Okay? You ready at home? Get your pencils out. For $49.99, that's 78% off. This is what you can get. 2 filet mignon, 2 sirloin, 4 chicken fried steaks, 2 boneless pork chops, 4 all-beef Omaha steak burgers, 4 jumbo franks, 12 ounces of all-beef meatballs, 1 pound of steakhouse fries, 4 caramel apple tartlets, 1 Omaha steaks seasoning pack, and a partridge and a pear tree. No, forgot this one. 4 more Omaha steak burgers free with the purchase. Again, that's a limited time package for only $49.99. When you go to omahasteaks.com, you type in the word crime in the search bar, and you add the Father's Day package to your cart. I love it because it comes right to the door. You put it in the freezer. You can have it all summer.
Let's face it. You love those apple tartlets.
I do.
You do.
I do.
That's
the
your
steak's
thing.
great, but damn, I like me some tartlets.
Omaha needs to come up with an apple tartlets package just for Kevin Flynn.
Go to omahasteaks.com and type code crime in the search bar to get this amazing deal. Don't wait, this offer ends soon.
What else you got, Kevin?
Well, every family has that member who tells the best stories, and so Storyworth makes it easy and fun for your loved ones to share those stories. So with Storyworth, it's a subscription that you purchase for somebody you love, and each week Storyworth emails them a question about their life, a little prompt to kind of get something out of them so they can tell their life story. It ends up being a great thing that you can share with the cousins and the kids and the grandkids. It's really easy for the people to do. I think what you want to do now, think about with Father's Day, send this to your father. Get him signed up. And if your father's like mine, doesn't talk a lot, right? Give him this prompt, and then every week he'll have to come up with the story. He'll reply, with either by email or on the web. You can use the app. And what will happen is throughout the year, they'll take all of these stories and they will bind it in a beautiful hardcover printed book. Storyworth makes it easy to preserve your memories and pass them on to your children for their future families. To get $20 off when you subscribe, visit storyworth.com/crime.
Crime.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear my dad's story. He already sent me one. It was about the time that he got his first job. It's a really good story. It happened to be he was working at a little diner, and he later ended up buying the diner with his friend. That's $20 off when you subscribe. Visit storyworth.com/crime.
Crime. Moving on. BBC America has a new hit with the limited series Killing Eve. An American-bred Brit goes from desk jockey to head of a secret unit tracking a skilled assassin who is striking throughout Europe. Sandra Oh plays Eve, and Judy Comer gives a knockout performance as the villainous Villanelle, a killer who revels in being a maybe sociopath.
When was the last time you worked?
Yesterday.
Was it a successful mission?
Yes. I shot him twice in the heart and watched the spark drain from his eyes.
Did you talk to him?
A little. He said he had children and offered me money.
What did you feel when he said those things?
Impatient.
This cat and mouse thriller that bounces around the continent is both suspenseful and playful, with compelling characters and crackling dialogue. As Villanelle tells her hunter, you should never tell a psychopath they're a psychopath. It upsets them. Killing Eve is still available on demand for BBC America viewers and will be available on Hulu later this year. We will be giving away spoilers in the first season of Killing Eve. If you want to just jump ahead to our spoiler-free thumbs up or thumbs down review, fast forward to the time code in the show notes. I just want to talk about Sandra Oh for a second in this show. My first reaction in watching the first couple episodes of Killing Eve especially, I was angry. I was angry at Shonda Rhimes and Grey's Anatomy because Sandra Oh in this show is a revelation. And I think in Grey's Anatomy, they perhaps saw some of that and then they just kind of like hemmed her into this like little part of the character, which is like driven. And, you know, it's always like the same with her character in Grey's Anatomy. And on this show, it's just like, oh my God, this is a great American actress that we have not actually seen because she was stuck in this stupid role in Grey's Anatomy. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, it really plays to her strengths where she has that sort of baby doll look of confusion that she turns on so well. That's so funny.
Yeah.
And she can switch gears like that. And she's really compelling. And I don't know. I know that this is based on a series of novellas. And I don't know what the character Eve is written in the book, but I just can't imagine like when they were writing this together, they said, who should be this MI6 desk jockey turned spy? I know, Sandra Oh.
Right.
I think it's a great bit of casting.
Right.
And, you know, she gives a strong performance. And I think, for as good as she is, I think she's still just the second best actress.
Which is amazing. Yeah. But Laura, you had thoughts about the casting too, right?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. And, you know, I think that Sandra Oh was really great in this role, as you guys were saying, because my only exposure, like you, was Grey's Anatomy, which I stopped watching because I kind of got sick of it after, like, I don't know, a few
18
seasons.
years.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously?
So I wasn't one of those people that held out. I ended it. But, you know, I just felt like the whole casting everywhere was great. I loved the woman that was cast as Villanelle, who was able to turn back and forth between being comical and also being like a cold-blooded killer so quickly. But it was great. This was one of the first shows in recent history that Ken has actually agreed to watch the whole series with me. And he has a rule. He will only watch like 1, maybe 2 episodes of a show. And then he's like, no, that's enough. I'm not going to watch it all. He actually watched like 4 episodes in a row of this. So I think that says something.
Now, Toby, one of the things I want to talk about is the establishing Villanelle scene. We see this early scene in the series where she's sitting in an ice cream shop. We have this like, you know, beautiful, angelic looking woman sitting with her gelato, smiling, trying to ape the facial expressions of a little girl across the way, which is our first sign that something's off. And it's kind of sweet. We're like, oh, there's something off with this woman, where she's trying to get this girl to smile at her, and she realizes, oh, I need to actually like smile back in a genuine way. And she does it. And you feel the sense of accomplishment that maybe she's grown a little bit. And then on the way out of the ice cream shop, she smashes the little girl's sundae, sort of showing that for her, it's a game. I thought that was a great character establishing, tiny little scene. What do you think of how they sort of set up these two characters kind of coming at each other in the first couple episodes of this series?
Yeah, I don't think I liked the series as much as you guys did, but I thought the first 3 episodes were great. And I think that's part of it is getting to know the characters a little bit. And I think the characters for the first 3 episodes are both sort of unusual and compelling. And, you know, in some ways, I thought that was the best scene of the entire show, was that scene. It wasn't that it did it like super efficiently, because it wasn't like a really short scene. I mean, they kind of draw it out a little bit in a way that's good, but it was just, you know, with a minimal bit of action, like you're like, okay, like she's there's something going on here.
Right.
And then it's entirely consistent with everything else you find out about her. Like it's just like a little microcosm of her. And then I think, you know, again, Sandra Oh, who I've never watched Grey's Anatomy, so I think I must have recognized her from ads or something. But yeah, I mean, she's really good. I mean, she's very she plays an interesting character of someone who's smart and normal. She's like a sort of a smart, normal person in an totally abnormal job.
Right.
And that really comes across. And I think part of it is her, and to a certain extent her husband, or maybe her husband and to a certain extent her, like kind of coming to terms with the fact that it's not this going into the office job anymore,
right,
that she was doing.
Well, I think that one of the things that a lot of people are talking about this show is the very female-centric storyline here. And it's borne out in a way that is very overt, obviously. It's not, in some point, you have 3 female leads in the show. And then you also have all these very interesting female side characters, and you have this very strong storyline where Villanelle is, you know, she's gay, she's like with women, and you have like Eve and her like sort of growing obsession with Villanelle, and it's very female centric. But then you also have something which is sort of a throwaway thing, which I think is unbelievably well done, where the gender stereotypes of all the male characters are also flipped on their heads. So you have Sandra Oh's, best friend and sidekick in the show, who's like the older agent who, you know, that she recruits over to the new secret agency with her. He's the one carrying the baby into the office in a little like, you know, baby Bjorn, and like he's found himself in this caring role. You have the young office mate who's the son of the secret agent crazy woman who's been traveling all over the world and sleeping with all sorts of men, and he's the one like Facebook stalking like women on the internet because he's really insecure in his like relationship status. You have Sandra Oh's husband, who has basically a caring job and is like basically like convening this community in this like nonprofit like bridge tournament or whatever it is that's going on there. And he's the one making dinners, and he's the one putting notes on the Tupperware, like, heat this up properly, darling, otherwise it's not going to taste good. You know, they've basically done with the men in this show what they do with women in every show, which is basically like, say, like, yeah, this is, you're over here. You're over here, guys. You might be fun and you might be interesting, but you're over here. Mm-hmm. And the women are all in front. Did you notice that, Kevin?
Does it pass the reverse Bechdel test? Like, is there a scene where 2 guys are talking to each other and it's not about a woman?
But Toby, like you pointed that out in a note to me, right? You noticed that sort of reversal of the gender roles in the show.
Yeah, I mean, the women, for the most part, hold the power. Mm-hmm. I didn't really like the second half of the show, but one of the things is that Villanelle like ends up being sort of like the James Bondish or you know, Jason Bourne, like getting the crap beat out of them and keeping on going, you know, so she's all busted up. And, you know, the only guy who kind of, other than like the Russians who kind of have this Russian thing, but the only like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, whatever. The one macho guy who shows up with her like rival from the prison and stuff, and he's like calling them sausage, I guess. Yep. It's like his little term of endearment. And he comes off as such a dick. Yeah. And then they kill him. Yeah. And then the other thing is, what's his face? Bill the traitor. Yeah. He's kind of like every like weak, cringing damsel in distress from all these movies. And
hiding
that he's
in the
just
back
like,
seat.
He can't do anything to help himself. He just hides and runs and hides and runs and panics and just relies on somebody else to save him all the time.
He's like PETA in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. So it's, I thought there's a lot of really clever stuff.
Yeah.
But I just kind of felt like the second part of it just became fairly conventional. Whereas the first part I thought was not conventional. And I thought that was kind of disappointing.
Now, Laura, Villanelle, the character, she's set up as a psychopath. I mean, that's the setup that we see. Like her inability to express normal emotions, her ability to just like, killing people is a job for her. And then we see these really intense, emotional, childlike moments. It's a really interesting character study. She has her relationship with Constantine. She has her fascination with Eve, even in the way that she sort of like puts her clothing together. It's like sort of very like childlike and sweet. And you do see in moments where like her eyes like completely fill with tears in a moment. Do you think, I'm asking you your opinion. You're not a writer on the show, obviously. Is that what a psychopath looks like to you? Like, what do you think she's all about?
That was the part I didn't ring totally true for me, because I felt like she clearly had obviously no emotion and no regrets about killing people. But I think what you get to as the show moves on is that, she does have a weakness and she does have a vulnerability and she does have a way emotionally that she lets her guard down. And so I think that, that was the part as the show evolved, that I was like, well, I mean, she's clearly got this, cold-blooded killer assassin thing going on, but she's also pretty complex. And you see she's kind of, pretty damaged. And that comes out when you start to see how she wants to relate to other women romantically. And why maybe that is, because there was some talk about what happened to her before she got to the college where she met the woman,
the French
that was
teacher,
the professor, her teacher, and what had happened to her before she came there. There were some hints about that. So I think, I don't know if she's like a psychopath or she's somebody that was just so damaged that she was seeking validation and seeking somebody to approve of her in a way. And so she was able to turn off her emotions in such a way that she could do these horrible things. But she also seemed to kind of get off on the killing. It seemed like there was some sort of a sexual component to it as well in some of the killings that she did.
She has a thing for bathrooms.
Kevin, did it remind you at all of Perry Smith?
Did it remind me all of Perry Smith from In Cold Blood?
Yeah, we just talked about this a couple days ago.
Not really. What are you thinking?
Well, it didn't occur to me until Laura was talking about it, but about how she's vulnerable in certain ways. Like there's certainly things that she kind of likes and wants to get across about herself, but this total lack of like any kind of compunction whatsoever about just murdering people.
It's almost like a childlike approach to murder, right? So like kids don't think about consequences when they do things. Children don't. And we say like the definition of like a psychopath is that like there's no regard for consequences, no regret or whatever. It's one of the things, but like it's almost like she's like a childlike component to it. Like she's stunted. Because she's also, she cares very much about people caring about her.
But she's a completely different kind of assassin than we've ever seen before, because either it's like this brooding, damaged, scarred guy, or the cool assassin who's just all professional, or it's
wears all black.
Right, or it's like the psychopath who is playing with a knife and could,
like the Javier Bardem.
Yes, just
No Country for Old Men.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
The scariest assassin in the history of film.
Yeah, and this is somebody who is both dangerous, but also funny.
Yeah,
and fun to watch.
Talk about the comedy in the show.
She is funny.
The dialogue reminded me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer at its best.
Yeah.
Where it's a little campy. I mean campy. It's smart. It just really just makes some of the scenes.
Right.
And I think it's one of the strongest parts of the.
That's actually a really strong
season.
comparison, and I think that one of the scenes where that sticks out a lot, where the Buffy comparison is spot on, is the scene in which Villanelle breaks into Sandra Oh, Eve's house, and just wants to have dinner with her, and they're sitting and having this super tense dinner, and they're eating the warmed up shepherd's pie that was just like in the container. And Sandra Oh is terrified, and she's wearing that stupid dress, and she's terrified, but she's kind of like got it together. It reminded me a lot of the Buffy Spike dynamic when he was still scary, but fascinated with her. Remember that whole dynamic where she's like...
And then you remember the question that she asks her.
Which is?
Is that sweater and shirt all one piece? Is that
yeah. That was a great line.
How does that work?
And you're just like,
is a shirt connected to a sweater? Is it a sweater?
Yeah. I mean, which is just very kind of droll in any show.
Yeah.
But it isn't just for comic relief or anything. That's her character.
Right.
It's sort of the balance of being childish and fun and really enjoying this in a sick kind of way.
Right.
With also being menacing.
So why do you think that Eve is pursuing Villanelle? What do you think's in it for her?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm gonna defer to the other panelists to try to
Laura,
come
what do
up
you
with that.
think? Why is Eve obsessed with Villanelle? Let's not talk about Villanelle's obsession. I think that's it is established that Villanelle just becomes obsessed with things kind of randomly in a childlike way. I think.
Well, it's the hair.
The hair is obviously part of it.
Yeah, you have good hair. That's how it all started. I think, in the beginning we get the sense that Eve, it wasn't necessarily just Villanelle, that she had a fascination with female assassins and assassins. And she was somebody that had been pigeonholed into a job that was, something that was kind of beneath her intellect. And she was frustrated with that and wanting to find a way to do what she was capable of doing. And so she was kind of doing this on the side. But I think with Villanelle, it's because she realizes, I think she senses that she's onto something. She just seems to be fascinated with the fact that this woman is doing this and that nobody else but her suspects that it is the same person, that it's connected, that it's linked. And I think it's almost like her opportunity to prove herself,
right,
and show what she's capable of doing.
One of the things that really struck me was that penultimate scene where they finally meet in Villanelle's apartment, and Sandra Oh says, "I think about you all the time," and Villanelle says, "Well, I masturbate about you all the time."
And that's a little far. It's a little much.
But I kind of feel like, I think the show is teasing that for Eve it might be sexual or something, but I don't think it is. I mean, I think that is the imagery there. I think that's kind of, they're sort of playing it out that way because that's certainly a big part of Villanelle's motivation. I think that for Eve it is deeper. It's about finding, we hear her backstory, raised in Connecticut, got this job at
she's Captain Ahab, and
I was about to say it's the white whale.
But just sort of the honesty around, I think about you all the time. You think about something you're pursuing. Think about whatever your dumb work situation where there's somebody you hate and you wish they would get fired. It's all you can think about, right?
Wait, what?
No, I just mean
what are you talking about?
Generally speaking, the things that we wish for, the things that we're pursuing, that it does occupy us.
Wait, the first thing that comes to mind for you is I wish that person at work would be fired.
What I'm saying is I understand that it doesn't have to be about sex for her for it to be obsessive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I don't think it's about sex at all. Isn't the whole thing at the end is she's using what she knows Villanelle's weakness is vis-a-vis her to get her into a position where she can stick the knife in.
You mean into bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of the ending, Toby? I know that the last time we communicated about this, you hadn't yet seen the ending yet of season 1. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I sort of, again, I got really, it was like half the HBO shows that I feel like I watch, which is I feel like the beginning is really cool and I'm totally into it. And then when they're trying to bring it to, when it goes to the second and third acts, it gets kind of weaker and weaker. And I thought it was okay. I think they got themselves into a situation, and I think I wrote that in the email to you, where it seemed like anything was possible. Mm-hmm. During the whole course of the thing, there's just all these things that happen that kind of pull the rug out from under you a little bit, so that you come to think that Sandra Oh's boss could actually be in cahoots with the bad guys and, blah, blah, blah. I think that makes it really hard to have a good ending.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to surprise people or be like, I never saw that coming, when in fact it seems like anything could happen and that would kind of work within the logic of the story that you're telling.
It's kind of like the Lost problem. People die and then they come back because of all this weird timeline stuff, and it's suddenly you don't care about the characters anymore because if they die, they might come back or whatever.
I think it's like the opposite of the Game of Thrones thing. Not that I've watched it, but my understanding is main characters just die all the time.
Yeah.
So you're always kind of you don't have that confidence that you do when at the end of one of the episodes is when Villanelle's coming up on Eve and has the gun out, and then I guess everything goes black, and you're like, is it possible that Eve was killed on episode 4 of an 8-episode series?
Well, it is called Killing Eve.
There's other people in that car, Toby.
But she was the one who was looking scared.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you think at the end?
I liked it. I mean, it did sort of obviously left things open for season 2 when we know they've already picked up a season 2 for this show. I liked it. I mean, there are some questions, about was this the best way to bring the resolution to these two characters who have been, chasing each other, to have them sort of lie peacefully in bed across from one another, because of all the...
And then that's not how it ends, though.
No, it ends with the stabbing.
And then the paper towel trying to clean up the mess.
The mess.
The immediate regret of the stabbing.
Oh, I love the stabbing, and she says, "Don't pull the knife out." She said, "Pull the knife out." So what did I just say? I mean, it's again, that crackling dialogue just keeps going throughout it. So,
what do you think of the ending, Laura?
Honestly, I was kind of expecting something a little bit more. I kept thinking that Eve's boss was going to have some bigger role in it, that there was going to be some more of a bigger conspiracy going on with the Russians. And then I was like, I understand the ending. It makes sense. I get it. But I just felt like the buildup was so much better to me than the ending. I was like, oh. And then the old lady comes in. She's like, she's gone. And I'm like, really?
I really, really liked the ending. I thought it was really clever because it sort of, for me, summed up their story well. Like, Sandra Oh got the prize and then immediately realized, I don't actually want this to be over, right? Mm-hmm. Because the chase was the passion for her. I wished that was where the whole series ended. I am deathly afraid of what season 2 would be. I don't give a shit about the 12. I don't give a shit about the bigger conspiracies. I really don't. And for me, if anything, that was where the show started to lose its way a little bit, was hinting at this larger thing. I don't care about that. I care about these two characters and the sort of cat and mouse stuff and the way that it plays out. That's what I care about, because that's the foundation the first few episodes were built on, and it was so great. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I think what we should do now is do what we do and tell our listeners, should they check out Killing Eve on BBC America? It's available on demand. It's coming to a bunch of other streaming services soon. So if you haven't been able to see it, you will. Laura Bricker, would you recommend to our listeners they check out Killing Eve?
Yeah, thumbs up. I was recommending it to people tonight. I've recommended it to several different people. It was fun. It was a really fun, smart show to watch. The contrast between, cold killing assassin and comedy and the dialogue and just the actors that were in this, it was great. I mean, I did like it. Like I said, the ending fell a little flat for me, but overall the series itself was very enjoyable.
Toby Ball, you've already expressed you have some mixed feelings. So where are you in the thumbs up or thumbs down on Killing Eve from BBC America?
So I think first 3 episodes, huge thumbs up. Last 5 episodes, kind of a thumbs down. I think on the whole, I'd probably give it a thumbs up. But again, it's like True Detective season 1. It was just the buildup was so great. And then what they did with it afterwards, I don't think lived up to it.
So where are you? Thumbs up or thumbs down,
You said
Toby?
thumbs up.
I said I'm a mild thumbs up.
Mild thumbs up. All right. Well, I'm going to give it a very strong thumbs up. I think the flaws are outweighed by the upsides. The performances are incredible. A lot of creativity in the writing. And I do think it is rare to see something on TV, especially a series like this, and see so many things that I have never seen before. And there was a lot of that in the show. So I am giving Killing Eve a strenuous thumbs up. What about you, Kevin?
I'm giving it a thumbs up as well. I mean, there's so many things that we didn't even touch on. For one, did you know that this is the first TV show in 10 years where every subsequent week the ratings went up?
Really?
As opposed to premiering high and going down?
Because of people talking about it.
Word of mouth. Yeah, absolutely. So there's something really good here. I like the characters and the performances, and I know what people say about Hollywood, and they're right, about the quantity of good roles for actresses in the industry, and I don't know about the quantity, but we have a lot of quality performances going on right now between Elizabeth Moss and The Handmaid's Tale and Westworld, and we got 2 great leads here, Sandra Oh and Jamie Comer, and I think that they're just great to watch, and it's just a really interesting antagonist with this assassin. Who else? Have you ever seen an assassin slow down a killing just to find out who the maker of the bedspread is? I mean, you don't have to do that if you go to brooklinen.com. You can upgrade your nightly routine with Brooklinen.
That's
Named
right.
the winner of the best online bedding category of Good Housekeeping, Brooklinen is the fastest growing bedding brand in the world with over 20,000 5-star reviews.
Can you imagine if after that super violent killing in Killing Eve, where she killed the guy in the eye with her fancy hairpin syringe thing, before she did that, she was like, "Who makes this bedspread?" And he was like, "Brooklinen."
and instead of writing that person's name down, she would on her hand she would write brooklinen.com promo code CWO.
That's right.
That's how you would go about doing it. I mean, I certainly like my Brooklinen sheets, Rebecca. They're also your Brooklinen sheets.
I love Brooklinen sheets. And you know what? Now that we've transitioned over to summer, we've put like the percale Brooklinen sheets on the bed, and they're crisp. And you get in them every night, and they're nice and cool. And then when you make the bed in the morning, they're crisp again. I love the Brooklinen sheets. Such high quality sheets. I don't know how we'd live without them.
We're going to be in hotels.
It's not going to be as good as our Brooklinen sheets.
Yeah. I mean, they're like luxury hotel sheets.
I used to look forward to staying in nice hotels. Now I look forward to going back to my own bed at home and my Brooklinen sheets.
Our Brooklinen sheets are the best, most comfortable sheets that we've ever slept on. Brooklinen.com has an exclusive offer for our listeners. Get $20 off and free shipping when you use promo code CWO at Brooklinen.com. Brooklinen is so confident that they will offer a risk-free 60-night satisfaction guarantee and a lifetime warranty on all of their sheets and comforters. The only way to get $20 off and free shipping is to use promo code CWO at Brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Promo code CWO. Brooklinen. These are the best sheets ever.
What else you got, Kevin?
Well, you know, it's summer. I'd rather be outside doing things, enjoying the warm weather, which is why I love me some Daily Harvest.
Ooh, Daily Harvest.
It's a subscription service that makes healthy eating easy with delicious plant-based foods that are ready in as little as 30 seconds. So they have all sorts of kinds of things, lattes and soups, but it's smoothie weather right now. And Laura, I know that you love yourself a good Daily Harvest smoothie.
I do. And there's so many different flavors to choose from. Like there's some in the winter that feel a little bit more, a little heartier to me with the avocado and stuff. And in the summer, they have there's one that has like watermelon in it that's super refreshing. And there's just so many to choose from. They're awesome. And I love the fact that they're all packaged up. They're all frozen. You put them in the freezer. It's super easy to make.
You just like add milk or even water or whatever.
Yeah, for those other ones, you could add like a coconut water or something and really jazz it up. Yeah, they're great.
So go to daily-harvest.com and enter promo code CRIME to get 3 cups free in your first box. That's promo code CRIME for 3 free Daily Harvest cups at daily-harvest.com. Daily-harvest.com.
And now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week. An FBI agent in Denver impressed the other dancers at the Mile High Bar when he did a backflip. But he did more than stick the landing. While he was upside down, his service weapon fell out of its holster and onto the dance floor. Trying to play it cool, the agent grabbed it, and then the gun went off, hitting a fellow spectator/dancer in the leg.
Ugh.
Fortunately, the spectator is going to be okay. Someone captured the flip and fire on video where you can see the off-duty agent put up his hands to say, "My bad." Authorities looking to see if alcohol was a contributing factor in this shooting.
You think?
Oh, no. Laura Bricker, this was a pretty dangerous dance move. What is your most dangerous dance move?
Pretty much anytime I try to dance because I have no rhythm. So it's dangerous to the eyes. It's just bad.
What about you, Toby Ball? What is your most dangerous dance move?
This will probably be a surprise to you, but I don't often bring the funk to the dance floor.
Really?
When I do, I think my most effective dancing tends to be sarcastic imitation of other people's dancing. So it's probably the razor sharp incision of my imitation moves.
He's a dance bully, is what I'm hearing. Kevin, what about you? What is your most dangerous dance move?
Okay, I have this move. I don't know. What do you call this when you do it like this? Where you make like a little chicken wing kind of thing, and
you sort of have like the hand in the back of your head, and you like whip the elbow backwards.
Yeah, you have the elbow sticking right out.
Yeah.
I did that one time, and I stuck it right out, and I hit a woman walking the other way behind me.
Oh,
right in the
Nice.
face.
Yes.
Yeah. Took her out.
Should have been paying attention.
Should have been good thing I wasn't a rich podcaster then. She might have tried to sue me.
Rich.
Yeah.
Don't put it out there that we're rich podcasters because A, we're not, and B,
But we're sleeping on those Brooklyn sheets.
Makes you feel rich.
Yeah.
All right, Laura Bricker, before we end the show tonight, do we have a cat of the week this week?
Yes, we do. It's from Joe. I come from the land down under, and I have been an avid listener for many years. As your show appears in my podcast feed, I must listen to it. I came home from work this afternoon and was greeted by the sight of our dog Henry, a Shih Tzu Maltese cross, and our cat Shelton, not sure of the breed, possibly an Australian Mist, a breed I've never heard of, sitting on the back deck. What a sight. They looked like a pair of good old boys chatting about old times. They are both around 9 years old and have grown up together. They are best friends. My wife got them before I met her, and we've been together 4.5 years. The first time I went to her place, they both took an instant liking to me, and after that, she knew I was a keeper because the cat doesn't like anyone.
Aww.
So Joe was approved by the cat, which is, cats are good indicators of character. He sent a lovely photo of these cats, the cat and the dog. They look very, very comfortable.
I have to say, Joe, I love it that you love the pets that your wife brought with you to the relationship. The same was not true when Kevin and I got together. When we got together, I had 2 cats. And shortly after we got together, I had no cats.
Because I'm allergic,
what
not because I
happened?
hate cats.
Oh, did you have to give them away?
I did. And Kevin's cat allergy, I think, is fueled by hate. So,
Wait, you didn't give them away to strangers. You gave them away to loved ones.
yes. And one of them was quickly eaten by a coyote.
Shit. Oh, sorry.
That's sad.
All
Nice
right.
job, Kevin.
Laura Bricker, if people down under or otherwise want to submit their cats, dogs, or other animals to you for consideration for cat/pet of the week, how can they find you online?
At Laura Bricker.
And Toby Ball, people want to reach out to you and I don't know, just revel in your Toby Ballness. How can they find you on Twitter?
It's always encouraged, and it's at TobyBallNH.
And Kevin Flynn, who want to reach out to you online and perhaps berate you for your hatred of cats that has turned into an allergy?
It's not that way.
How can they find you on Twitter?
It's at Kevin P. Flynn.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reb Lavoie. You can tweet to our show at Crime Writers On and join the fine folks on the official Crime Writers On Facebook discussion group, or just leave a comment on our regular old boring Facebook page. You can support us at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media to hear Toby's exclusive Balls Deep Book Club podcast in the next coming days, just like days after this show drops. It's worth supporting the show because you will be hearing a podcast about In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. You can go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. You can also get ad-free content, which is exclusive, including our special podcast, Married with Podcast, at StitcherPremium.com/crime. Our theme song was performed by Rocksteady Freddy and the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble. This show was recorded in the Yoga Loft above the Bodega in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, formerly known as Studio C, where jurors who disagree are held in contempt and charged with a felony. No, I'm just kidding. They're not, because that is not a thing that should happen, ever. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you
later.
I got poison ivy, so I've been taking prednisone, which means I don't sleep. So I've slept like 7 hours the last 2 nights. So I'm like a little delirious.
Doesn't that make you angry too, prednisone?
No!
It makes my friend super angry when she takes it.
The
She can't
steroid
take
rage?
it.
Ask the
maybe-
pizza guy who I beat up earlier today.
Jesus.
You said 25 minutes, goddammit.
Man gotta have his Roni.
Don't make me wait.
He must avoid the Noid.
Partners in Crime Media.
Say goodbye to expensive TV bills. Philo is the simple, powerful app for watching TV. You get access to more than 35 of your favorite entertainment channels, as well as live TV on demand and unlimited recording, all for only $16 a month. No contract needed. And there's never been a better deal. Start your free trial instantly with just a phone number. No credit card needed. Visit go.philo.com/crime. That's go.philo.com/crime or text the word crime to 74456.
The friendship is sharing deal.
Because I want one of your McNuggets.
And I need some of your Quarter Pounder.
There's a deal for everyone at McDonald's. Get one favorite like 10-piece chicken McNuggets, a Quarter Pounder, or a Big Mac and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.